Hey, welcome. Adrian here. Coming live to you today with a live Q&A session. Recently, I reached out to people online, people in my email database and things like that and said, look, ask me anything. Let me know what you need to know, what you want to learn, any stumbling blocks and things like that. And so people have come back to me with a couple of questions, 7 in fact. So I'm going to answer them for you today. And hopefully I can shed some light on a few things that may or may not help you. So if you're online, say hello. If you want to ask me anything, just pop it in the comments box below and I'll be happy to answer it live if I can. Other than that, if you are in business, if you would like to have more help in marketing, if you would like to have more help in terms of getting your mindset right, in terms of getting clarity and know-how and focus and making a shift in your business, then just comment yes below and I'll send you some information about how we can get together and perhaps I can work with you on breaking through those certain areas of your life. So if you'd like that, just say yes in the comments and I'll be happy to help you and I'll send you some more information. So let's get stuck into this live Q&A. I've written down all the little questions that I got. I'm going to run through them as quickly as I possibly can. Again, if you are live and you want me to answer any of your questions, just ask them in the comments. Okay, here we go. So the first question is, how do I think on my feet? And the best way that I can answer this on how to think better on your feet is simply to eliminate distractions. So what we live in at the moment is an ADD world, okay? So we live in a moment full of distractions. We live in a world full of distractions. We live in a world where we are becoming all things to all people. We live in a world where, and most of our jobs, most of our businesses are based on multitasking. And I think multitasking is something that has definitely crippled a lot of people's productivity. So therefore, when you ask me things like, how do I think on my feet? The first thing that comes to my mind is how to create focus. And the best way to create focus or how to create focus is to start with eliminating distractions. In the absence of distractions, you get higher focus. So the first thing that I would do is I will start to look at ways that you can eliminate distractions. So that means TV, that means social media, that means things that just take a lot of time, things that you may not have to do. So $10 an hour jobs versus $100 an hour jobs. So ways that you can eliminate distractions. Then what I would also do is take it a step further and start to reverse engineer the process starting from the outcome. So when I start to think on my feet, I start to think 2-3 steps ahead and I go, this is the outcome that I want to achieve. I know that this is going to be needed, that's going to be needed, these are the future steps. So therefore I can future pace myself and go 2-3 steps into the future and find out exactly what I need to do so I can assess where I am now and how to get to that point. Does that make sense? First step, eliminate distractions. Then that in the absence of distractions will create more focus and now you've got more bandwidth to use and then we can reverse engineer the outcome. Okay, question number 2, how do I set myself up for success? So the best way to set yourself up for success is to create a routine that sets you up for success. So for me personally, I hate being told what to do. I don't like to be confined to 4 walls. I don't like conforming or following the rules or anything like that. However, my experience is that when I've created routines in my life, that has freed me up to create more moments of success in life. So what I would do is I would look at firstly, optimal sleep. What time do you wake up? What time do you go to bed? That would be the first thing that I look at. If you're not getting the right kind of sleep and refreshing your brain and refreshing your body and rejuvenating, then there's no way you could set yourself up for success when you're starting off on like poor sleep and poor brain functioning. Okay, the next thing that I would do is I would focus on your goals. So most people do not have a clear plan. And we all know that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So what I would do is I would focus every single day on the clear goals that you've set out for yourself. And that way, what is going to be happening is you're going to have a radar or a barometer as to whether you're going off track or on track. So I would set myself up for success by first reviewing all of my goals in the morning. So I do this in the morning and I do it at night, okay? So that would be the next thing that I do. Number 3, I would meditate. in order to have ourselves setting ourselves up for success and performing at an optimal level, I would definitely start to meditate on a regular basis. The reason why meditation has become such a popular thing nowadays is simply because it allows you to defrag your brain. All right, we're doing too many things, thinking about too many things at once. And when we've got so much clutter going in, it allows for it doesn't allow for any new ideas and any new stimulation. So the further you can declutter your brain and get more out of it, the more that can come in that is going to serve you, okay? You don't know that, however, unless you're focusing exactly what you want to achieve. All right, question number 3. How do I create confidence and execute decisions and back myself? Now, the key thing about this question is that the answer's in the question, really, because you're saying, how do I create more confidence and execute decisions that back myself? So the words that I'm hearing is that the opposite of how do I create confidence, meaning there's self-doubt and unconfidence. So I can't back myself, or I want to be able to back myself, and I also want to execute better decisions, which means like you don't have the confidence, you're unconfident. So the first thing that I would do as a coach is I would work on the limiting belief systems, and I would work on those mindset hacks in order to, I guess, take the charge away, the negative charge from the emotions of feeling unconfident and feeling like you can't make a good decision, you can't back yourself, okay? So what I would do then is I would release the emotions. Now, there are techniques to do that, and they're all mindset techniques. And so I'm happy to help you with it, but I can't do it in this time frame here. And then the next thing that I would do is I would work on what's called feedback loops, okay? So I would search for evidence in my life which created more confidence. And the more that I become aware of creating more confidence, the more that I would get a feedback loop to say, in this particular area, I am confident. And so what that does is it trains a new neural pathway in the brain to feel more confident and to do something that allows you to be more confident. And then you can say, you know what, I made a decision, I executed a decision, it worked out favorably, and so therefore I am capable of executing decisions, therefore my confidence increases. The more confident you become, the more confident that you can become in those areas, the more confident. So it's a feedback loop. It keeps coming back around, and it keeps repeating. If you're conscious of it, it starts to form what's called a new neural pathway in the brain. Okay, the more that we practice the habit of creating new neural pathways in the brain, the more that we can do that, we undo an old train of thought. So imagine like a record that plays, and it's just the one track that keeps going around. So we kind of got to scratch the record, scratch that groove, and so it doesn't play properly again, and then create a new one, okay? So there's plenty of terms for it, all sort of, sciencey types of terms, but in a basic sense, we're creating new habits, and the confidence loop, or the feedback loop that you can search for, will create more confidence in your decisions, and therefore to create more confidence, and you can back yourself knowing that 6, 7, 8 times out of 10, you're going to make a really good decision. Make sense? Okay. Question number 4, how do I operate on a higher level? So I'm going to read into this a little bit, because operating on a higher level could mean that I want to become more spiritual. And then it also could be that I want to run on a more optimal rate, okay? So there are many things that I will work on in this particular, to answer this question. First is your brain, your mind. So I would look at decluttering your brain, decluttering the way that you exist in life, meaning that if there are many things that are cluttering your decision-making process, you're taking up bandwidth within your brain. And so therefore, it's consuming a lot of energy, which could be directed to areas of your life that you can make better decisions, okay? So I would limit it to only making decisions in the key areas of your life which help you operate on a higher level. So let me give you a very basic example. So let's say in my life, I want to operate on a very high level. I want to limit the amount of decisions that I need to make on any particular day. So one thing that I could do is I could wake up at the same time. I could go to bed at the same time, okay? Then I don't have to worry about anything else. The other thing that I personally do is like I do intermittent fasting, okay? So when I get up in the morning, I only have to have a coffee and I'm ready to go for work, right? So I don't have to worry about what I'm gonna eat for breakfast. I've already pretty much pre-planned my meals every day. I eat kind of the same thing all the time. It sounds pretty boring, but I don't have to worry about those decisions. If you've known me for a while, okay, I'll wear jeans and V-neck tops and things like that. So like I don't really have to worry about like what do I wear. I've got a blazer, I've got a V-neck top. You can pick these up for like $4.50 at Kmart. So I can buy 15 of them, and it's typically like black, white, and grey, right? So I don't have to make decisions. So why am I telling you this? Because I can now operate at a very high level because I don't have to worry about making so many little decisions every day. Okay, so I would definitely focus on that. And then the overarching theme of this is when you are focusing on what you need to do, focus on what generates the results that you need to have in your life. Okay, so if it's somewhere in the area of health, well then focus on the foods that give you the most energy, that give you the best protein sources, fiber, all that kind of stuff that help you eliminate waste and help you feel good. If it's something to do with work, well then focus on the things every day that help you communicate with your customers, deliver a better service, communicate your message, your marketing, whatever that may be. When you focus on the things that actually deliver the results that you want and eliminate everything else, then you become a person who operates on a higher level. Does that make sense? Okay, question number 5. How do I sustain energy levels so I'm always in a good frame of mind? All right, so this ties into almost everything that I've said so far, but here are a couple of hacks that I would use if I was in your shoes, which I often am. So I'm always wanting to sort of like, hack the mind. Have any of you guys heard of binaural beats? Okay, binaural beats. What that does is everything that we operate on, everything in life is based on an energy frequency, okay? So what I would do is I would look up binaural beats and I would start to use that as a way of allowing the brain to function at a higher level by simply resonating at a certain tone. I'm not going to go too far into it here because I'm mindful of time and it's very hard to explain, but on a very basic level, we all operate at a certain energy frequency. And there are certain energy frequencies in the brain, like for example, all music is at 432 hertz. We sort of operate at certain levels. When you start to operate at different brain wave levels, then it actually increases more focus. Okay, it can actually decrease, like in terms of allow the brain to settle into more theta brain waves and things like that, so you go to sleep easier. It's very good to meditate on. So what I would do is, in order to sustain a high energy levels, so you're in good frame of mind, I would definitely use binaural beats. I would meditate on a regular basis. I would try and meditate for say more than 10 or 15 minutes at a time, which is hard for a lot of people. But the more you meditate, the longer you sit quietly and the longer that you can focus on, like for example, your goals and things like that, then the more your brain starts to create that new neural pathways in the brain, the more focused you become. So I would definitely look at that. The other thing that I would do is I would start to use visualization. And here's the key. When you are visualizing on your goals, I would visualize around and imagine what it would be like what it would feel like to achieve those goals. Does that make sense? So it's one thing to think about the goals that we want to achieve, and then it's quite another to think about the feelings that would derive in our body as a result of achieving those goals. So remember, emotions carry like 100 times more energy than thought, and so you can think one thing. That's why like we can think, for example, I'm going to go into a meeting today, we feel nervous and anxious, and then that overpowers our body. So in the same way that it happens in a negative way, it can happen in a positive way. So what I would do is I would meditate for long periods of time. I would then meditate and visualize on my goals, and I would imagine what it would be like to feel the feelings that would come about if I was to achieve those goals. What that does is anchors in the emotion, and it starts to then form, again, another neural pathway in the brain that positively anchors that train of thought to that end goal, okay? So for me, that always puts me in a positive frame of mind. The other thing that I would like to interject into there is eliminate all the shit that makes you feel terrible. All right. So very, very simple and basic, but a lot of people put up with stuff that is not necessary and they don't have to. I know when it comes to certain relationships, this is easier said than done. But in terms of, say, for example, things that you're exposed to every time. So like listening to the radio, listening to the news, you know, listening to that person who always says, oh, did you hear about so-and-so and their marriage? And, oh, did you hear about this person who died? Like the person that is always saying all the negative shit that drains all the energy out of your life and existence every single day, I would avoid them, okay? And I would avoid watching the news. I would avoid watching violent films. I would avoid like exposing myself to things that sap the fucking life out of me, okay? All right, so I would definitely do that. And in the absence of all of that, you are definitely going to feel much more enlightened. You're going to feel, you know, more vibrant. You're going to be in a positive state of mind, and you're going to be able to achieve more. Okay. Okay. Question number 6. How do I forgive myself for past mistakes? All right, so this is a really, really cool one because it's a critical thing for a lot of people because, you know, like guilt and regret is kind of one of the most difficult emotions to live with. So what I would do is 2 things. I would release the negative charge to the emotion that you have tied up with past mistakes that you've made. The next thing is that, to me, there's always a lesson in everything that happens in life. So I would pick up on the lesson and then I would integrate that into a life lesson that I'm now going to carry forward from this moment on. The awareness is the biggest thing here because a lot of people go, that's in my past, and now I'm defining my future by my past results, which really is not fair on anyone. So what I would do is I would look at, say, for example, a past experience. I would say to myself, well, what is the lesson that I learned out of that past experience? The lesson is this. Okay, from now on, this is how I operate going forward. So I'm not defined by my past. I'm actually changing and iterating to improve my future. Okay, it's a tough one to answer, but the first thing is to release the emotions. There's a lot of things happening from like a biochemistry point of view that are really affecting the way that you operate. And because we are living in the past, living in the past creates depression, living in the future creates anxiety. The present moment is really where no problems exist, okay? I know, again, easier said than done, but we really need to be living more in the present than in the past. If you're living in the past is creating depression, then essentially your body is always running on negative emotions, and that's what causes disease, okay? Disease is a result of, you know, having all of those internal emotions fester up inside of you. That's what causes a lot of problems, and we just can't think, feel like clearly. We can't operate at a higher level when we're operating in the past all the time. Okay, so question number 7, the final question. 7. Here we go. How do I remove self-doubt and build self-esteem? Okay, so this ties into an earlier question. What I would definitely do here is I would start to remove the self-doubt by creating a confidence loop. All right, I'd be looking at patterns in your life where you have succeeded, and I'll be starting to anchor in to where you've exceeded, why you've succeeded in that particular area, and I would look for patterns, okay? So then I would also look for a pattern as to where you felt unconfident and where you've looked for patterns where you failed, for example, and I would look at the negative association that you have in your mind, and I would then hack the negative thoughts. Now this, to me, is a very critical process, but it's also a process that is so necessary because, you know, we've got 60, 70,000 thoughts per day. Often, like the same thoughts that we're having yesterday, 90% of them the same we'll have tomorrow. And if most of them are on a negative pattern, it's really easy to fall into the loop or the trap that like things aren't going so well. However, it's easy to kill little monsters, okay? So what I mean by that is that whenever you feel like you're falling into a pattern of negative thinking about the past or about, you know, how you're unconfident or whatever it may be, stop yourself in that moment and say, is this serving me in a positive way or a negative way? Because if it's negative, Now all I need to do is retrain my mind to think positively. That's where I would go into past patterns where you've succeeded, where you've done, and look for every bit of evidence you possibly can to support that you have had successful moments, you've had success, made successful decisions, that things are great. This is why most gurus say just be grateful, because like gratitude is like the emotion of receiving. You know, like you've pretty much got if you're grateful for everything that happens in life, you can't feel grateful, truly grateful, and shitty at the same time. Okay, it's impossible to do. So I would look for patterns of existence in terms of where you've had success, patterns of success, and then I would anchor those in. Whenever you start to fall back into the habit of a negative thought pattern, catch yourself out. Okay, is that positive or is that negative? Am I thinking feelings and emotions and thoughts of self-doubt? If that's the case, then how do I combat that? So what you do is you hack the system, you shortcut the circuits by saying that's a negative thought, stop. And as soon as you stop, then you start to implement a positive thought. Hey, I'm grateful for the fact that I'm alive. I'm grateful for the fact that I'm breathing, right? Like, so just start with something very, very basic and work your way up from there. What the catch is that this happens so many times throughout the day, but like everything, like a muscle, when you go to the gym for the first time, your muscles ache and they really, like, it's painful the first time, but as they sort of grow and they get, more bigger muscle fibers and they get stronger, you're able to lift a heavier weight for a longer period of time. You don't get that sore anymore. Okay, so this is the same with your mind. It's just another muscle that you need to keep on practicing, building and repairing, and always be on top of your game. This, my friends, is where the success in life all lies. This is why most people feel like they're not succeeding, because they are not focusing on the things that are controlling their day, right? Are you controlling your mind? Is your mind controlling you? It's so important and so critical. Okay, that's the end of Q&A. I hope you guys have learned something. It's been a pleasure for me to deliver this to you in any way. If there's any questions that you have, or you need any help with your mindset, business, marketing, then please comment below and I'll send you some information on how we can work together. Other than that, I thank you for your time and I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon. See you on the next video.